We've still got no idea what's going to happen with Brexit, what sort of deal is on the table. This growing uncertainty is having a devastating impact on business. Major companies are pulling out of the country to settle elsewhere. Now, this time tomorrow, there could be a breakthrough after a Brexit vote in the Commons. Our correspondent Natalie Powell joins us from London. Natalie, it's all about amendments, isn't it, tomorrow? Talk us through it.
It certainly is. In fact, this is quite a significant step for Brexit because this is an opportunity for MPs to put forward really what type of Brexit they want to see, and they're doing it through these amendments. Of course, these amendments have come about because of another amendment, which was one that was tabled to say that if the government were to lose its Brexit deal vote, which it did a couple of weeks ago, quite substantially, of course, then MPs would be able to put forward further amendments. The idea here really is to look at how MPs could potentially steer the path of Brexit. And what it does is really two major things. Firstly, signal to the UK government, who's obviously been tasked with coming up with this Brexit deal, what type of Brexit deal MPs would vote for. And of course, they didn't vote for the Plan A that Theresa May put on the table. But also, it gives essentially the UK government more clout to go back to Brussels and say, look, these are what our MPs are saying. This is the kind of deal that they want to see done. And they're not going to vote for something unless it has something to do with these sort of amendments that have been tabled in it. So essentially giving the UK government more clout when it comes to its negotiation power. Of course, the big caveat in all of that is in terms of the withdrawal agreement. And remember, there are two agreements we're talking about here. The withdrawal agreement, which essentially allows Britain to withdraw from the EU, has pretty much been signed off by all 28 EU member states. But what Britain potentially can do, because a lot of EU leaders won't want to reopen that withdrawal agreement, is make changes to the future relationship agreement, which at the moment is a very vague text. And potentially we could see UK Prime Minister Theresa May using that as an opportunity to try to get through to her MPs to give them what they want.
But the damage has been done, hasn't it? You hear of so many big businesses leaving and big names to go elsewhere because they're concerned about the tax implications.
That's right, and I think the closer that we get to a no-deal scenario, which of course is the default position on the 29th of March, we are likely to see those voices in businesses become louder and louder with their concerns. We've seen big businesses like Dyson, for example, which is a Hoover maker here in the UK, leaving. We've also seen car manufacturers getting jitters. However, some car manufacturers are actually increasing their output here as well. The Dutch government has come out saying that it's been approached by some 250 companies who are concerned about Brexit and are thinking about moving their businesses there, of course. So it is causing quite a few concerns. It's hoped, though, these amendments in Parliament are likely to do something to calm those concerns. And although they carry no legal weight, as it will, some of them are suggesting extending Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty, which is the mechanism that makes Brexit happen. So therefore, the deadline date of the 29th of March could be extended. Others want the UK government to say no to a no-deal scenario and rule that out completely. And other amendments, of course, talk about the Irish border backstop issue, which is one of the biggest concerns about trying to find solutions to that and a way around that issue. And, of course, in terms of other amendments, putting more power back into the MPs' hands if a no-deal is going to certainly be the case or certainly look like it's happening. So a lot of things are taking place at the moment in the UK Parliament, or will be over the next few days, I should say, in terms of trying to change that path of Brexit, because it certainly looks like there is not a great deal of appetite in the UK Parliament for a no-deal scenario, which would have bad implications, of course, on the UK. But it's unlikely as well that Brussels wants the UK to head towards that path as well, because, of course, a no-deal would not only be damaging for the UK, but is likely to have big implications on the other EU member states as well.
And I'm sure that people there are immersed in this, obviously, and they must be feeling pretty nervous. Their future really is in the hands of others there.
Yeah, there is a lot of uncertainty here in the UK. Having said that, though, there are a lot of people that simply want the government to just get on with it. We've been talking about Brexit for the past 2 years, and a lot of people are just fed up with it, and they're not really aware of what the implications of it are. But we are hearing stories about concerns, for example, about food not being on the shelves, and certainly that is going to have a big impact on the wider British public. In fact, the British Retail Consortium have written a letter signed by some of the big supermarkets. We've got Asda, Sainsbury's, M&S, even McDonald's, which is not a supermarket, of course, but a fast food chain, have signed this letter saying they're concerned about fresh food getting into the country and what that will mean for their businesses. But of course, you've got to be careful when it comes to scaremongering here. While it is likely that the UK might not have as much fresh food as before, because about a third of food consumed in the UK comes from the EU, we are likely to have other foods. It just won't be perhaps in as much abundance or perhaps as fresh as we have been used to having. So a lot of scaremongering going on at the moment, certainly a lot of pressure on MPs, of course, to get a deal done so that the UK doesn't head towards this no-deal scenario, which it certainly looks like is something that many in the country are fearing at the moment.
It would be a disaster. Natalie, thank you. Up next, we're live in Washington as the government shutdown impasse is over, for now. Why as many as 33 million people face starvation in West Africa. Are we facing another Ethiopian famine crisis? How will the continent and the West respond?